My name is FRANCESFOX, and honestly, I don't really want to be here. Today is a very interesting day in which we are being told by our scientists that there are several solar flares on their way to this planet. One of the problems with that is that apparently it is believed that the last time the planet ended in a catastrophe, it was through a flood, through water, the element of water. And that this time it's going to be with the element of fire. Solar flares are the element of fire. So I'm going to tell you what I bought for lunch. I bought 2 guava pastries, a Venezuelan pastry that's called a tequeño, carrot cake, lunch, honey chicken, vegetarian roll, a spring roll, a salad, green salad, and a tuna salad. All of that for lunch. Now, pretty obviously, I'm not able to eat all of that for lunch, but I wanted all of that. And a friend of mine said, "Do you think you're anticipating you're not going to have access to food?" I said, "Well, that wasn't what I was feeling and thinking. I was just, I want this food. I'm going to buy this food. This is my lunch." I obviously ate a quarter of it. But solar flares augment anxiety. And one of the ways I alleviate anxiety is through eating. And then in the last couple of years, through not eating. How does anxiety play out in you? I took a nap, and when I got up, I have somebody that I really dislike a lot. I wanted to kill him. That's from the solar flares. They were supposed to come tonight starting at 11, and then in the news it said one of them came earlier. Obviously, they don't keep a schedule. So excess fire, which I've been talking about since we started on my social media platforms, particularly here on X, excess fire is very detrimental to human consciousness, human health, behavior. It's totally destructive of society. I was just working on a newsletter we're going to send out in a while. If you're not signed up for our newsletter, don't sign up. It's okay. We are very blocked in putting those out. That's why I say don't sign up. It's going to go out, but never to the number of people it should. Yeah, I'm bitter. That's excess fire that has not been expressed. In the newsletter, we put all of the symptoms of excess fire. So I'm going to open up the newsletter and I'm going to read to you everything that has been augmenting in the last several years and is going to augment dramatically. And it did this week. Let me read it to you so that you can see. Give me a second. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to find it easily, but I'm going to try. Okay. Insomnia, anxiety, frustrations, hatred, emotional outbursts, physical violence, murder, suicide. In society, it creates coups d'etats, social unrest, protests, confrontations with authority and with the government. In health, it affects changes to the negative, all of this, high blood pressure, anybody with issues with heart conditions is affected negatively. Arrhythmia, epileptic seizures, which are a result of excess fire, augment dramatically. Myocardia infraction, I think, isn't that what's augmented with the injections? Muscular pains, headaches, dizziness, zombies. So we are not in such a good place because from what I can see, and the news that I get is on X, I'll go other places, but basically that's where I get my news. It is worrisome what is coming at us. So we are going to be appropriate in this chat. And I'm going to get over the fact that I wasn't able to make the screen full screen in terms of my picture. I'm going to not let that keep bothering me because it really, really is not important now. We are in between cycles. And in our chat last night in Spanish, we went ahead and looked at, and if I can get it quickly, I will show it to you. We went back to this graphic that we did in this chat on the 3rd, in which we were moving away from our physical body, and this is a portal. We went to the portal, and we have completed a part of the ascension process. But the trick here is the ascension process is like going up a ladder. I think in the Bible they call it Jacob's ladder. You're going up a ladder, and we have gone up a couple of rungs. A lot of us, maybe not everybody. No, I don't think that everybody, but we're not quite there yet. But we will be if you've had a bit of this ascension process, that you have worked with it, or it has worked with you, and you have raised your vibration, your aura, ascension. You will be less affected by negativity, because negativity is heavier. So it's on lower rungs of the ladder. But we're not out of the woods yet. So when we played with everything last night in the group, basically the only sensory therapy video we should be looking at is the Agni, which is with the ice water. We need to add the visualization, and we need to put ourselves and everybody, including our bank accounts, including our relatives. You have a mother-in-law you can't stand, put her there too. Put everybody inside their igloos, a common one. Each one can be inside their own igloo. Get them under that ice water. Literally, as I explained yesterday, it reduces the fire in them and protects them. You can also do that to the town you live in, the city you live in, and the country you live in. It would be great to do it for the whole planet, but I think what happens there is that your intention gets dissipated when you try to take care of everything. That's my opinion. So I'm not doing the whole planet, even though the video that I play at home, that's 10 hours long, does have the planet image on the video. The one we're going to use here now does not. So if I actually want to help you out, what I should have us doing here to get together collectively is the mantra that's going to make a difference. Now, these solar flares, supposedly we're going to arrive at 11. Some of them arrived earlier, and it's going to be several days, but it's not going to end there. So let's go ahead and do the mantra that's going to make the biggest difference, having to do with this particular problem of an excess of the fire element that's going to keep augmenting, and the therapy video that's going to help to reduce that in you, so that when we finish today, even if we finish earlier, that you will be healthier in the other dimensions. I'm going to remind you, okay, that all of the medicines of the planet, and I've said this several times before, but I think, and we all know this, we don't remember it and we don't apply it. Health is a balance of the 4 elements. There's a 5th element, but the way that is used is not part of what I work with. So I don't know about it, so I can't work with it. We have an excess of the fire element, and it's burning up the planet. It's burning up society. It's burning up love. It's burning up our bodies. When there's an excess of the fire element, which I forgot to put in the newsletter, it kills your vitality. You literally get burned. Your mind streams get burned and you lose vitality. So let's go ahead and go. I'm going to pull up the video, and we're going to just use this video, the time that we have together, because that is what makes sense. For me to go ahead and do everything that I had planned and systematic, we don't need that. We are in a state of emergency on planet Earth. And when people, particularly on X, say there's something big that's coming, you're not aware of what's coming and how it's going to be, it's how it's going to affect all of us, I think they're talking about this, whether this happens today, tomorrow, and the next day, or it happens in 2 weeks or in 2 months. The whole situation of excess fire, which in this case is coming via these solar flares, and until recently was really from the radiation of all our electronics, that situation I don't think is going to go away. So let's go ahead and let me pull up the mantra that is the one that makes the appropriate one. It's not that it makes sense, the appropriate one. Which is this one. And I'll explain to you again why it is that this mantra works for this. Okay? Okay, here's the mantra. You repeat it in silence. Mantras are devices that liberate the mind. The human mind strings create reality. So you really want them free. And then they can work with your intention. You direct them with your intention. You don't want them burnt up, and you don't want them hanging on to things like your bank account, an ex-girlfriend, somebody that you hate from the past, or the mansion that you left in the country that you had to leave because the government was taken down. So even though I hate, that reduces the fire. My heart is broken. The heart is controlled by the fire element. And from what we understand in the research we've done, every single big trauma or small trauma that you have has an impact on your heart center. So, okay, we're taking care of that. I want to die. Many of us did not really want to come to the planet in this incarnation. We decided to help out, but we didn't really want to come because we knew it would be a mess. And things are not so great. They're actually very difficult for human beings. We are actually very loving people. And with these darn implants from Orion and others that I have not yet discovered, we are a very distorted, perverted version of what a human being is. Once you cut that implant to the back of the liver, what is funneled in there, which I forgot to tell you, that energy that's funneled from Orion, if you have not yet cut that tube that is inserted in the back of every human being's liver, that augmented 33% the bile that is getting injected into us. What is the energy? Fire, paranoia, desire to kill, desire to cut everybody's head off, desire to eat people. Several years ago, I would have left that last desire to eat, I would have left it off and said, you know what, we're not going to do that now. We're going to do that now because that's what's coming up. We're going to do that. We have to clear that. So anyway, that's the mantra. That's the reason why it works, not the reason why I chose it. It's the reason why it works. How do I know it works? Because when we get together in the bigger group in Spanish, I do the mind mapping as I do with you. And I can tell which of the mantras are working when and which ones we should be using. So we're using this, and we're using the glacier, the Agni technique, and you're going to do a visualization. Reality is created through your intention. And the visualization helps with the first part of the process of creation of reality, which is images. So you're going to visualize, if you want to play along and do this with us, the whole igloo, putting people underneath the cascading, freezing water, yourself in particular. Always start with yourself first. Like they say in the airlines, if there's an emergency, the oxygen mask comes down, you put it on yourself first, and then you help everybody else. Because if you help other people first, you're going to be able to help 5 people, and then you're gone. They're going to have to help you. If you put it on yourself, you can keep helping. Put it on yourself first. You cool yourself down. Takes 2 seconds. In the other dimensions, things are like this. It's a lot more fun to work in the other dimensions. It's a lot more efficient. It's a lot more effective. to work in the other dimensions than it is on the physical. You want to get something over there, you have to stand up and you have to pick it up and you have to move it over there. And then you have to make sure it's kind of like placed correctly. You don't want to put it in the middle of a doorway. And the other dimensions is your head. You're doing it. It's a lot more fun. So we can't do anything about the sun because the sun is literally haunted and invaded. And I told you, I think yesterday, that I saw it when it happened, or at least one of the times that it happened. And science, a couple years later, said that something had happened to the sun, that something had hit it and it had changed, and it has. So we can't negotiate with Father Sun because it ain't our father anymore. It is an actual enemy that is using an element to kill us. And you need to know that the galactics that are bad use the elements to control us and to kill us. The same way from Orion, they're injecting us with the element of fire. We already have too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and start, and we'll do 15, 20 minutes. And everyone, including me, is going to feel better. Okay, so here we go. I am going to do a group healing, and I'm going to try, and all of you that are here, to cut that implant from Orion. So it's worked before. Hopefully it'll work now, and it should make a huge difference for you. Okay. I spent my time working, so I'm not so relaxed. Trying to get this to be the size it's supposed to be. How are you feeling? I'm gonna put up the gold dress. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Well, the bottom doesn't look good. I see lines of blue. Gossip. That dress was made for a mother-in-law of a wedding 7 years ago, apparently. It was in the news. And the groom today brutally beat up his wife. That's excess fire. If you cut the fire, you do not have the vitality to beat up anybody, to yell at anybody. There's no violence. And if you know that and you look at society, you go, whoa, we have got to reduce the fire because there's too much evidence. Cancer is a disease of excess fire. So that has got to be and is augmenting dramatically. Anything that's red on the skin is excess fire. And guess what helps with anything that's red on the skin or any disease or condition that has to do with excess fire, such as all the heart stuff, etc.? Cannabis. Oh, but that's a herb from the devil. I wonder who decided to go with that disinformation that we still have to deal with today. Anyway, do you feel better? Or are you more relaxed? I did tie everybody in the group. You are the one that will know whether it worked or not. And one of the descriptives that I put in the newsletter that we put out today, we're very organized in my office. We put out a newsletter today, and all of the links go to articles in English that are on my website, FRANCESFOX.com. So if you want to know what we talked about, You cannot know if you only know English from my newsletter, but you can get it from my website. These are the types of things that, honestly, sometimes I want to let it go. So we will be back here tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Saturday. And so if there are big emergencies and we still have communication, we will be back. If not, then we will see you on Monday. And honestly, and most of all, when summer falls, I wish you love.